Politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and politics of
But America,
and love are right.
we are not going back.
Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to episode 19 of Raised Red Living Blue. I'm Sloan Roden, joined by
Jason Will.
Thank you so much for letting me take last week off.
Yeah.
My mental health and real estate business, greatly appreciated, and thank you.
Well, did you learn? I mean, is there anything over the last really 2 or 3 weeks that would be helpful for consumers out there? Like, what are you seeing in the real estate market wise? Where I feel like people should be maybe continuing to pull back. It doesn't seem like they are. I mean, you had some people that were very, very cautious and taking a wait and see approach.
Right.
Then what happened?
Well, they are still in a wait and see approach. But what I'm really feeling right now with, kind of what we would call like the move up or the step up buyers, they're in something, they've been in it, it fits their needs for now. So there's a little trepidation with either the market or interest rates. So they're not like engaging and doing these full, let's get on the house tour train, but are kind of like sitting in the wing until something pops up, which is fun for me. But then you see a house and then you have to go through, okay, well, now we got to get you pre-approved and this and that. So that's a lot of what I'm seeing, and it's a little different of a process, and I'm just rolling with it.
Are these blue buyers and sellers you're primarily working with?
Yes.
Okay. So mine are red. I would say just about across the board. And it's interesting because they are so optimistic. It's just such a positive attitude. They're like, well, what is it like? What good does it do to get all wrapped up in all this negativity and drama and stuff? We know he's got us. We know he's going to work out in the end. So, we're not feeding into this narrative of doom and gloom. We're determined to be optimistic. So it's interesting. I think they're projecting with their talking points this kind of shock and awesome. Shock and awe, shock and awesome. I'm calling it shock and awful.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm interpreting it, right? It's just every market really demands certainty. And this is like the most wishy-washy. I mean, the first go-around was very wishy-washy, and here we go again.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not going to get too much into it, but in my big talking point today is the tariffs. I feel like there's that's the biggest thing of it. But in this, one of the points I made, it's a Sloan note in my talking point, is so much of how people feel about the state of economy and the real estate market, and we know this, comes down to buyer sentiment. When during the election, all of these metrics, and Scott Galloway talks about this a lot, these metrics were saying how prosperous the economy was, but individuals didn't feel it in their own homes, in their own checkbooks. A professional, an expert can be saying one thing about the economy, but if a consumer, they don't feel it, that's going to affect how they spend money and they go out into the marketplace, whether it's, goods and services or real estate.
Well, they also, they fall victim to this messaging. It was enlightening to have Thomas Poole on last week.
Man, I enjoyed it so much. I would love to have him back, and if I can be present. I thoroughly enjoyed y'all's conversation.
Because it was so spur of the moment.
Oh, that's fun.
Like, we didn't prepare at all.
That's super fun.
But he's one that I've been talking about on this podcast for so long.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's just been struggling. Like, he really feels like we're in trouble as a country. And so he's really internalizes that. And it comes from somebody from a military family.
Right.
Who was a Marine.
Yes.
And is surrounded, you have a blue side now and a red side, right? From your dad's on the blue, your mom's on the red.
Yes.
Right?
So I can admit I have some reprieve that a lot of people don't.
What if you were getting it on all sides?
I know
like
it would. It's that same thinking of like when you're out, like when you're in the closet and you come home and you have a place to like shed those layers and have a safe space. Think like people, especially like Thomas, like you go to these family functions that are supposed to be the time and place for you to shed those layers and come as your true self. But when everybody's true self is these conflicting sides and nobody agrees to these like a ceasefire, I can see and hear and understand that anxiety around going to these family functions.
Well, they're trying to bait him.
Like
they're trying to bait him on social. You know, they want, like, they feed off that, you know, conflict interaction. It's crazy. And he'll send me screenshots of something that somebody will post either on his side of the family or his wife's side. And he's just like, this is the shit I got to deal with. And I'm like, it's just it's just
my
straight.
Friend, I say with love, mute those people.
Yeah.
Mute them.
Well, it's just like a total regurgitation of Truth Social.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a complete and total mess.
Mm-hmm.
But man, was that eye-opening. And he just brought up so many great points. It turned out to be a decent episode, I think, given the how much effort.
Well, and it was so like unscripted and from the heart, and there were so many points that I think people can relate to, and it's shocking. You know, I'm a few years younger than him, but so many of the things I heard in my household growing up were very similar to what he heard, and especially this military background of his. Like, he has a completely different take and understanding of authoritarianism and the like the steps that you take to get there. I feel like so many of us, it almost sounds like hyperbole when he talks about it. It comes with such like historical fact and understanding around it, and I just appreciated it so much. I need to reach out to him and just tell him I was moved.
Well, one last thing on it. It's just, you know, not only is he from a military family, but many people in his family work for the government. They have these government jobs, and you know, I don't know if you caught this, but I was asking him if things really, really get bad. And all signs seem to point that, you know, we're just in for a lot of turbulence moving forward over the next, you know, 3 years and 7 months or whatever it is. I said, do you think your family's going to come around? And he said, Jason, the government could strip away their federal benefits and they would still back them. I mean, his family was saying, like, this is the greatest generation sacrifice.
Yes.
That scared the shit out of me. I was like, are you that's incredibly scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it freaked me out. As of this morning, the Republican talking points is that this whole tariff thing is all so strategic. And one of these idiots, it's not Lutnick, it's the other idiot. He's saying, oh, we should be applauding Trump for his bravery, you know, and staying the course and having the courage, you know, to do this. The counterpoint is that whether he does anything with these tariffs or not moving forward, the damage is done.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of uncertainty. It's like 90 days. Oh, so watching the Today Show this morning, okay? They had two CEOs that they were interviewing. I only paid attention to one because I like brushing my teeth, getting ready, you know. But one was, it's like a mom and pop, sounds like a husband and wife business, started in a basement or garage. They do something with babies. It's called like Babies Plus, whatever. Anyway, they've just been doing, you know, local stuff where they just got to deal with Target. So life-changing deal, okay? Their cargo, their products that they're selling are in crates loaded on ships in China, ready to leave port. So a day or two ago, it was going to cost her $30,000 to ship these products from China to the US, and then they were going to start reaching the shelves in Target. Now that same shipment is going to cost her over $200,000, so she can't afford it, and the ship is going to stay where it is. She just said this is basically the beginning of the end for us because we will surely run out of inventory. We have like 90 days worth of inventory, and then, or I don't even know if it was a full 90 days, but it was a small window of inventory. And then she goes, then we don't have enough money to pay ourselves, pay our employees, and like they're mortgaged. I mean, they're over leveraged. Their house is all tied in, is back in this debt. And she was about to break down in tears. She's like, we're basically out of business, or, it's coming in a matter of weeks or a month or so.
God.
So that's just where people are and what's going on. It's a rough time out there.
And I'm going to go into this, or maybe like remake this point in a little bit, but I mean, that's what this is the squeeze of the small business is going to be catastrophic because so many, I mean, I think there wasn't an exact number, but what Scott Galloway said this week is like millions of small businesses get products from China.
Yeah.
And when you're a small business, you don't purchase in quantities large enough to have leverage to negotiate your prices down. And this goes into something I was going to say for another episode, but it goes into that Walmart effect where Walmart purchases in such large quantities and has such buying power, they can pretty much strong arm their suppliers into accepting their rates. And then that in turn like puts other small businesses out of business or they can't carry the same products because they can't purchase it at the same rate that Walmart can, and Walmart still turn a profit. So are these very major retailers, are they going to be able to negotiate some of this? Maybe, but your small businesses aren't. In a time where like we, the people, the small business, the individuals, like we should be fighting against the oligarchy and the corporations, and they're just going to continue to win. And I don't want to be doom and gloom, but right now that's where the signs seem to be pointing.
Well, and that's, I believe, probably the only reason why Trump hit pause is because the oligarchy was like, dude, you're messing up our program here.
Yeah.
You're effing our shit up over here. Our bottom line is not looking good. So it's a scary time. I would be hopeful that that this would awaken more people. But it's just amazing if the Democrats could learn how much rope the American people will give you with the right messaging. And I don't agree with the way the Republicans go about it because since the 1970s, I mean, literally, the Republican machine has been broadcasting. You got to think about how long like far right-wing media in terms of like Rush Limbaugh's uber popular radio show, Fred Savage. I mean, they've just been around a long time on a lot of different mediums.
Yeah.
They're way far ahead of the right on podcasting. We're picking up the slack pretty fast.
Yeah. Have you seen that graph? Not really a graph, but it depicts numbers and followers, but it uses like sizes of circles. And it breaks down the right-wing media influencers versus left-wing media influencers.
That'd be fascinating.
Joe Rogan has the biggest and Charlie Kirk is next. Like, there's blues, but like we don't have the concentration that they do. I mean, it just goes into their messaging and podcasters and influencers. They're doing something to get the eyes and the ears.
Yeah. And I would just say this, they've just been doing it for so long. I mean, literally, it's mail, direct mail, TV programs, commercials, obviously Fox News, it's social media. Yeah, talk. I mean, it's just they've just have had this infrastructure of the politics of fear and misinformation for so long. And Thomas and I talked about this, I think, a little bit as well, just like the demonization that we get. You're not a person who was born biologically attracted to females. You're a person who's choosing to live an alternative lifestyle because it's trendy, or because you want to shoot a middle finger to the religious right, or you just want to be different, or you're just a bad person. You're a sinner. You just want to be a sinner. You love sin. Lesbian sex is so sinful. Let's have the lesbian sinful sex episode pretty soon. See if we don't get a sponsor from Love Stuff right after that. At this point, I'll take a sponsor wherever I can get it. Oh,
yeah. Did you find your point?
Yes. So I don't know if you've noticed, I still follow the White House on Facebook.
Bless you.
Follow Fox News on Facebook.
Bless you.
And so both of those Facebook pages have been putting out content over the past couple weeks about trans female athletes refusing to participate in sporting events versus trans opponents. So one was a fencing thing that I saw recently. Yesterday there was a disc golfer who just walked off the competition refusing.
So I read that fencing is already, like, the sport is not segregated into gender. So that's a talking point just to
right. But that's the whole point anyway, right?
Yeah, nobody. Oh, okay. So, I got something on this. Oh, I got my ass for the week.
Yeah.
Nobody cares to look deeper. And
that's right.
And what you and I continue to say is a healthy dose of skepticism on both sides would do all of us a world of good.
100%. I mean, you can see it.
Taking bullshit on the internet as fact.
Well, I've got so Diana has a friend of the family who's a real estate agent in Mandeville, Louisiana. She is like the Jason Patton of her marketplace.
Okay.
So just reading the comments below the postings of these two individuals, like, it's crazy the amount, or just how shallow the arguments or the are from the other side. But that's exactly what they're doing with these everything is going so awful with this administration. It's so unorganized. I mean, from Signalgate, which happened, what was that, spring break?
Yeah.
To, just across the board, there's just crazy shit going on. I mean, Laura Loomer, we could spend, I think, 3 hours, having a Joe Rogan style podcast talking about all the blunders from the immigration, the deportation of these poor, a gay hairstylist, and then this poor family, this father from Maryland or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God they're in like a separate holding area and they're not in general population. Because have you seen the general population?
I don't know which I've seen, but none of it is good. And saying, the whole thing. Yes, blunder.
It just looks like if you went to this prison and got put in general pop, you would come out not the same human being ever. Like
100%.
It'd be like going to the front lines of a war zone. But the world's on fire. I really feel like Trump's whole thing was like talking about how Kamala was going to kill the economy, and Biden.
She's sitting there like, told you so.
Because there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
And then Biden, it was leading us into World War III. The world was on fire. I feel like he's trying to start World War III. He can't end this war in Ukraine to save his fucking life.
Right. He has done so much shit at home. I can't remember the last time somebody mentioned the war in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that side's been
wants to bring
silent.
coal back so we can because let's make our air less clean. It's just on all sides and all fronts.
Oh yeah, they've just done some stuff for coal mines in West Virginia.
It's funny. My son just walks into the room right now when I'm like getting my little fix of CNN in, and he's like, "Why would they want to do that?" And he would just walk out, and he'd be like,
"Son, valid."
Well, he goes, we're so fucked, aren't we, Dad? And I'm like, yes, son, we're fucked. All right, I got one quick comment before we go to break.
Okay.
I was scrolling Facebook last night and I saw that Marjorie Taylor Greene was having a town hall meeting.
Saw that.
And I was like, holy shit, I'm getting in a car.
You're going to go to Cobb County?
I'm really, where I'm disappointed in myself right now that I haven't been active. There's been a lot of town halls and things going on. I haven't gone to, I've said I was going to make an attempt to go to these things and I haven't.
Yep.
But oh my God, how do these people look at her and go, I mean, she talks about UFOs and just really crazy shit.
Yeah.
She's nuts. It's just like she needs help. But it said on there that only, I guess you'll have to show your driver's license to show you're a member of the community. They're not letting any outsiders in. So I was like,
damn.
All right, you ready to go to break? And then we're going to talk about Sloane's griped ass.
Let's do it. You know, on Instagram now, it'll like pull up some stuff and then, or it'll show, I don't know what, like posts on threads that you can then go over to threads and see what people are posting, kind of like Twitter. And I saw this last night and then, I'm like, what is this headline?
And this headline griped your ass?
Yes. It's linked to an article. I go to the article and it's one of those that like, you can't read it because a Temu ad shows up so much.
Yeah.
Then I go to Google to find it. All of these Facebook posts that go to the same like Facebook page. So the whole thing looks like a weird like internet scam.
Huh.
Like somebody's putting this out there and I cannot find any truth to it. It all goes back to this same bullshit.
Well, maybe you can inspire some internet sleuths.
Right.
Here.
So the article is, and apparently this was posted on February 12th, but then there was something from March. And so it kind of seems like this just is recirculating.
Uh-huh.
But it's this, the headline is, Lynn Dunn calls for Brittany Griner to be expelled from U.S. Olympic team. The quote is, do you disrespect the American anthem? You don't deserve to represent the country. And so all of these things are, go back to Russia. You deserve to be in the Russian gulag. You know, he's a man. Get him out of our country. And so like the hate for a woman, the hate for women is loud and proud in America. The hate for gay women is louder, and the hate for gay, masculine presenting women, especially Black, is just the worst.
Yeah.
And so this is an example of this transphobia that is like just like a fire through society, makes people feel that they can call women men when they are not, and they're not trans, and so it just, the hatred is appalling. It's recirculating these stories from 5 years ago, and so it goes into that misinformation and taking words and spinning them, and it's insidious. Mm-hmm. It's just that's my gripe.
Well, I was thinking about it. Really, I was thinking about it. I think on the ride over here, I was just pondering this misogyny and this just totally rejuvenated war is the word that was on the tip of my tongue, but just this anti-LGBTQ plus across the board. I'm just wondering, like, how, especially women, like, how do women deal with all of this? And it just seems like it's the wokeism. Again, this goes back to messaging, but they're much more afraid of like a wokeism than they are of a misogynistic resurgence in our culture. They're much more afraid that their children are going to be influenced to change their gender or be attracted to the same sex based off of books and television shows. And what people should understand, I think, is that gay people and trans people have been around since, I would be willing to bet
dawn
the
of
beginning.
time.
Yeah, the dawn of man. People are discovering more that they have gay people in their families because people are coming out of the closet or have felt comfortable to come out of the closet. So these people are living their whole lives they're just not living their true selves.
Well, and if they feel suppressed, then they think everybody should feel suppressed.
I'm just wondering like how like people are, I guess, justifying this or making sense of it. It seems to me that people are, I would say, thoughtful people are going, well, I take misogyny over this woke shit, or over my daughter having to play a sport against a biologically born man.
Well, if it's men saying that, they're going to take misogyny every single time.
Well, I'm just thinking women are too. I think women, I just see these women for Trump.
But I think that's that's conditioning that they've received over their whole life and are not looking in the mirror and thinking and doing the work to move past it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes from like fear of the unknown and fear of different, and that anything different than the Christian conservative family values in the box that we have is bad, is wrong, is sinful. And that's another, type of conditioning and propaganda machine. Put a lot on by not only right-wing media, but the churches.
Oh, 100%.
So
it's same with DEI. I mean, this whole anti-DEI is because somebody is going to take somebody who with a different skin color or different ethnicity is going to take my job, not because they earned it. There's the fear of that.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But my last point on this, and then we can move on finally, is that I finally listened to our new intro song. Producers got like Kamala going, "We're not going back." And I'm like, the fuck we're not. We're so going back. I mean, coal?
Yeah.
Coal production? Are you fucking kidding me?
Rinse, I love it.
I mean, I love it too,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, why do these people want to go back? Why do these people not want clean water and clean air? Why are people, and Thomas made this point because he was like, fuck it, people need to be informed. And I've been really tossing this in my mind about the elitism and how that's been used against us. But I wanted just to make this point in case anybody cares, because the elitism that I feel like I project onto people is you're I mean, RFK now is saying, oh yeah, the measles vaccine, that's the best way to prevent this. Before he was like, oh, just take some vitamins. I mean, come on, people. And I'm like, look, if you don't want to feel like you're being talked down to, then inform yourself. Just do some basic 15 minutes a day, I don't know, to plug in and see what the hell's going on and see what these people are saying, because it is, once you just start paying attention and you rise at least above the talking points of the day, then you're like, holy shit, this is messed up. Because everything they say about us, corruption,
what every accusation is
absolutely what they're doing.
Every accusation is a confession.
And that's infuriating to somebody who is on the side that, at least, because I would say this is the way I feel, is that, I'm somebody who has evolved to left leaning. I was pushed there by just starting to pay attention to the bullshit.
Yep.
And that's what Thomas said too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when he just started to kind of question things, he was like, wow, this is outrageous.
Yep.
All right, where are we going next?
Okay, let's take another quick break and then we will get into tariffs.
And then I want to take a big giant crap on Markwayne Mullin after the break.
Super fun. So the big thing in the news this week, last week, I feel like maybe for the past 2 months, has been tariffs, what's happening. And I'm not doing a timeline because, as we know, this continues to change kind of hour by hour and every single day. But some things that were very interesting to me around it. So kind of Sloan's take on the tariff situation,
all right, let's
if
have
you
it.
will.
Tariff this, tariff that. When is somebody gonna tear off my clothes and kiss me? Please.
Oh, I can't wait to send this to like 100 people today.
I thought we needed some levity, and
God,
that was
that's
so
the
damn funny.
greatest.
I'm so happy to bring it to you today.
Yeah, well, we all need to be tearing off each other's clothes because there's a baby shortage out there.
One thing to know.
Whew,
I
that was
know.
great.
God, I'm so glad I brought it today. Okay, so much of why we're here now comes from how we got here. And so we go back to Trump's first term. He started this trade war with China. There was a tariff on most goods. They responded with retaliatory tariffs. So New York Times, The Daily, Trump wanted to move the U.S. away from its reliability on China, mainly because of the trade deficit the United States faces with China. God, every time I hear tariff, like we take a shot, I feel like every time you hear the words trade deficit, take a shot. I mean, that just seems to be, actually not seems, that is the driving force of all of this and what Trump is doing. And it all comes from Trump's views on tariffs and that having a trade deficit is bad. There's a Washington Post article and it breaks down Trump's views on tariffs, which goes back to the 1980s. He felt that these Japanese investors were coming into New York and bought buildings like Rockefeller Center, and he was thinking, well, we are losing to Japan now. A quote was, "Japan and other nations have been taking advantage of the United States," Trump wrote, complaining that the American military was taking care of military defenses while Japan spent money to build a strong and vibrant economy with unprecedented surpluses. He said, he tax these wealthy nations, not America, end our huge deficits, reduce our taxes, and let America's economy grow unencumbered by the cost of defending those who can easily afford to pay us for the defense of our freedom. Like, he has had these same talking points since the 1980s.
And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me.
Like this is literally like what he's saying now. This is a slun point. My personal notes are, he's like a kid or somebody who experiences a trauma and does not develop past that trauma. It's like he has continued to have this same mindset and has not evolved past it in the last 40 years. And because he felt, I guess, that something affected him in the 1980s when this was happening in New York, and it's almost like he has held that vendetta towards other nations and almost like towards our government since then.
Yeah, and there's even news about him. I mean, he's absolutely seeking retribution against his political rivals and anybody that's wronged him, but even all the way back to his first administration. So the comment he made at some event here in the last couple days about nations, like, you wouldn't believe the nations reaching out to kiss my ass.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
I mean, I can just, like, going back to my red-blooded Republican household that I grew up in, you would never hear somebody in much in a leadership position, much less the leader of the free world, speaking like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed and just shocked.
Yep.
that we are where we are. But you look at, you've got Peter Navarro, Howard Lutnick, you got the cronies, the yes men that are surrounding Trump, that are just talking about, that are just seem 100% on board with these tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was like questioning with my interview with Thomas, like what if he pulls this shit off? Because
Right.
like, I can see how, if you're not informed and you really do think Trump's a strong leader, that you would just be like, yes, he's got us.
Yep. Yeah. And not knowing.
He ain't got shit.
Right. Well, not knowing this backstory and that. So this is another quote. What's unfortunate is that for decades now, they have become wealthier in large measure by screwing the United States with a self-serving trade policy that our political leaders have never been able to fully counteract. So it is definitely this vendetta that he has. And it's this, I said it a few weeks ago, it's that idea of there being a zero-sum game, and it just doesn't work like that. Going back, I think I'm not sure if this is New York Times Daily or AP News, but during his first term, many companies adjusted to the trade war with China by moving facilities or manufacturing to Vietnam and Cambodia. Well, now Vietnam and Cambodia are a part of these tariffs. So you see companies adjusted what they were doing, kind of like a loophole, kind of like a workaround, and now they're kind of being screwed again. Here's my question. If we are finding countries where it is cheaper to manufacture the goods, and so if it's cheaper to manufacture the goods there, that means the land is cheaper, the building is cheaper, the insurance, the wages,
everything.
If everything is cheaper, then we're always going to have a trade deficit with that country, because if we're getting cheap stuff from them, they're not going to buy the expensive stuff that we are exporting. So then that's not comparing apples to oranges. Does my question make sense at all?
100%.
So the trade deficit, this is my point that I wrote, it's always going to be in the cards. Like, it wouldn't be cheaper to produce these things if there were booming economies there. Like, they were offshored for a reason. And I feel like this has come up now, and in the last administration, he threatened tariffs on Mexico and Canada just to renegotiate the North American Trade Pact. And after negotiating that to begin with, he slapped them with tariffs to renegotiate, and I feel like that is happening again. I mean, the whiplash with Mexico and Canada, I can't keep it straight, because now experts are saying, well, let's move these jobs to North America, so it's okay now if they move them to Mexico and Canada, but if I can't make sense of any of it. And I don't think many people can.
No, they can't. Nobody can. It seems like even if you look at the administration, they don't understand it.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the number, so his big, what was it, the Rose Garden presentation with the tariffs?
Getting there.
So, okay, so those numbers.
Right. Yes. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Go, run with it. It's
okay, so
wild.
So kind of, I did our How We Got Here, which goes back to the 1980s, not just Trump's first term, but 1980s, and his feeling as a businessman. So most recent, the Rose Garden appearance, 10% baseline tariffs on all country, but more for China, the EU, Japan, South Korea, people that he thinks are bad actors, which I guess bad actors mean trade deficit. One example is China. He imposed a 54% tariff, and they responded with a 34% retaliatory tariff. This is a quote from this week's Raging Moderates. Scott Galloway said, "The Dow posted its biggest back-to-back losses since March of 2020, when the pandemic created obviously incredible uncertainty. So it's just important to note we have now reached the same level of uncertainty about what's going to happen as we were during a global pandemic."
Trump is a global economic pandemic.
Yep.
In and of himself.
So we had that Rose Garden appearance with his chart.
Yeah.
Conservative think tank called American Enterprise Institute are the ones that figured out that the Trump administration's calculations were wrong.
Conservative think tank.
A conservative think tank. And I did not read all this because I'm not a mathematician, but a table in this article shows the announced tariff and their calculations on what the corrected amount should be. So let's do a few examples. As Cambodia, 49%. If they use the corrected mathematical equation, it would be 13%. That's a really big difference. Let's go to some ones that Switzerland, 31% should be 10%. South Africa, 30% should be 10%. South Korea, 25% should be 10%. So shit show is the best way to describe it. This is from this week's Raging Moderates. The amount of small businesses, and this is what I kind of referenced earlier, the amount of small businesses in America that run off cheap imports is in the millions, and they can't afford to pay a $500,000 tariff in order to stay in business. This is going to wreck every sector of the economy if it keeps up like this. Examples were cars. They're going to go up $10,000 to $12,000 per car. Think automobiles already jumped so much in the pandemic, and they're about to jump again. That's insane. Aluminum that goes into everything. Of the examples that were used were from a workout bench to steel for buildings. And so the demand for these products goes down. For reciprocal tariffs, Jack Daniels or Brown-Forman, which are some of the biggest companies in Kentucky, if reciprocal tariffs are put on the United States, companies like these two will sell less and they'll make less money. So that means, if prices go up, the companies make less money, the demand for the product goes down, and therefore the amount of money collected in the tariff is dwarfed by the loss of capital.
Yeah, that does not sound good.
He thinks it's a tax that another country is going to pay, but that country, like everybody, is going to pass that buck onto the consumers because a company isn't going to eat that higher price. The only person who doesn't have a say in how much it costs is the end user. And the only say they have is, yes, we're going to buy it, or no, we're not. Or yes, we're going to buy it, just not at the quantity we have been.
So that's the talking point that we need to keep pounding, is to call it the Trump tax.
Yeah.
Trump recession, Trump tax. This is absolutely a tax. And I will just say this, my Republican turd of the week, Markwayne Mullin, admitted that on Meet the Press, or one of the Sunday talk shows, that he absolutely, when pressed on it, said this is 100% a tax on the consumer.
We need certainty in the business world. Tariffs is a tax, and it will be passed on consumers.
You just said is important, that a tariff is a tax and it is passed on to consumers.
Of course it is. Everybody
That is
knows
something
that.
the White House does not acknowledge.
No, that is something that the president, who is a business person, understands that completely.
That's who loses at the end of the day.
Right. I'm going to jump around a little bit. These are some points from New York Times The Daily, because my dad says he likes when I say where I got my information from.
Oh, all right,
Thanks,
Dad.
Kenny.
Oh.
Okay, so one idea in the theory of economics, when you're thinking about it in a book form, not in, actual real life, is tariffs bring factories back to the United States. When you increase U.S. jobs, it pushes up wages, and that's good for the economy. But economists see side effects that are going to offset or be worse than the good it's going to bring. And this is exactly what I said before. So a lot of people are saying the same things. Increasing prices, slow economic growth, potential unemployment. What happens when unemployment grows or GDP does not grow? We go into recession. So again, Trump, recession, Trump. Main question, who is paying for the tariffs? And here's a great example that I have in my personal life. So my mom has been in the furniture business for 15 years. during COVID, the price of freight skyrocketed. Her margins are already narrow. What did she have to do? She had to increase the prices of her goods to make up for that increased cost she incurred. Therefore, it was passed on to the consumer. And we saw a lot of that happening in the pandemic, after the pandemic, with inflation. Like, I think it's been happening for a long time, but especially in these last 5 years, prices go up, it's passed on the consumer. You know, it is happening across the board, which is why we felt squeezed with this high inflation. And this isn't going to help. It's going to exacerbate what people felt. Like I was saying earlier, doesn't matter what these metrics say of these talking heads on TV. If buyer sentiment isn't strong, they're not going to spend their money. Or like we've said over and over and over again, they're going to vote with their dollars for the person who says they're going to fix it. That just person isn't not fixing it.
It really speaks to the power that we have. I know it's so easy for us to feel powerless. Mm-hmm. But man, that voting with your dollars thing has got a lot of merit. I don't know if this is fair or not, but I'm just like, I'm waiting for some of these felon signs that are still on the ground. Damn right, I'm voting for the felon. Yeah. You know, in these very rural red areas that I travel, I'll be in these areas today. I'll drive by these signs and flags today. But there is a building. I wish I would have photographed it, but and shown you the full extent of the MAGA grandeur that this building exhibited. But it's in Coleman County in a very heavily trafficked part of the lake. And it's just this rich guy who's got this building he's not using. It's just a metal building on the side of the road, which on both sides, so the east and west sides of this building, like on one side he had Trump, this huge image of Trump reaching out of the fast food to go window with the fries. And then on the other side it was like Trump like holding a bald eagle or some shit.
Gross.
Oh my gosh. When we were in Seaside for spring break, some rich person with a multi-million-dollar house right in Seaside. So he's got this big Gulf of America shit now. And then it's got all these things that are like, it's got like We the People, Gulf of America, or now it's this huge banner that says like, welcome to the Gulf of America.
Gross.
It's awful, but that guy's building a lot of the Trump, and there was Trump yard signs all encompassing it. There were flags hanging, multiple Trump flags of all different styles and colors all across the front of the building. A lot of that stuff has come down. It's interesting. You know, I think we will see whoever this is in Seagrove. Do we know? Can we find out who this guy is? Does anybody who's a listener to the show? Does anybody know?
I'm
who
sure
this
we
guy
can
is?
we can check tax records.
Yeah, somebody take a picture of the mailbox so we can figure out who this guy is.
Goddamn.
And why he is so dug in on all this.
I don't know.
All right, you got more on tariffs?
I do. Okay, here's his quotes.
There's a great professor at Berkeley, and he says, all right, intelligent people help themselves while helping others. Bandits help themselves while hurting others. But the definition of stupid is doing something that hurts others while you hurt yourself. And I would argue this entire tariff mess is literally the definition of stupid. Yeah, can we hurt China? Sure we can. We will also hurt ourselves. I don't know who gets hurt more. Doesn't matter. This is stupid, Chris. 80% of Americans, we have this sort of romanticization of manufacturing. 80% of Americans think we need more manufacturing, but only 1 in 5 Americans have any interest in working in a plant. There aren't a lot of people lining up to work on the shop floor or at the plants in Lansing, Michigan. And we have purposely outsourced these low-wage manufacturing, dirty manufacturing jobs for high-end service, marketing, strategy, service jobs that just pay more. You'd rather be an associate at JP Morgan than working on the shop floor at General Motors. That's the bottom line.
This is why we need to listen to very smart people like Scott Galloway who like understand these things. And it's people think, oh, this is the art of the deal, and it's just, you know, blustering. One, if it is just a negotiation tactic, this is not the negotiation style I agree with, that I like working with, that bully, that shark. I don't think it's what one gets the best end goal, because yeah, I may be an asshole to you now, but like you're going to remember that later. And like that's how I negotiate and try to work in my own real estate
That's
business.
what I was going to say. I mean, how fast would your brand, your reputation disintegrate if you use the Trump tactics in your business?
Right. Oh, for sure.
How many sellers or buyers would be like, take?
Well, not just that, but like how many agents would see my sign and be like, Sloan was a fucker when I worked with her last time. Like, we're not seeing that.
Beware of doing business with Sloan.
Well, I had an agent kind of do this to me a few years ago, and it was over inspection repairs. And I would argue that we were asking for it was a lot of money, but like they hadn't updated to circuit breakers. I can't remember the type of electrical box they used. It wasn't knob and tube. They were fuses. It was still on fuses in an inner closet, and they had done all these renovations to the house. So finally, when he was an asshole to me and I had to bow up to him, I was like, well, you still have fuses in an inside closet, which means you didn't pull permits on any of these things. Would you like us to go pull permits on you now? And he changed. They said yes to everything. I'm like, I didn't have to get there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't. And then after I was an asshole, he was fine to me. I'm like, we didn't have to get here and bow up at each other. But you made me. I didn't like it. I don't like it.
A point I would like to make here, which I think is very relevant, because I really feel like we have an opportunity here to reorganize, restructure, adjust our mindset around politics and policies. And one of the things I've been talking about a little bit on the show that we can learn from is the pace of change of this administration. And then Sunday on Meet the Press, I believe I heard Adam Schiff say the exact same thing. He's like, what this administration is showing us is how rapidly things can change. Now, we are seeing it right now, disastrous repercussions, because this is not a scalpel. This is another talking point we need to be hammering on this show, and every left-leaning program needs to, is that it's a scalpel, not a wrecking ball.
Yep.
That's exactly what you're talking about, is that the agents in our business that are the best negotiators are not going in there balls to the wall, guns blazing, like, fuck you, accept our terms, we're walking.
Okay, but also think like we have to continue to work with these people in our marketplace, with these co-op agents in our marketplace after the deal closes, just like a world leader has to continue to work with other world leaders for the remainder of their term.
In a global marketplace where we are all essentially one people, one economy.
Okay, we are short on time, but there's
you got 4 minutes.
There's a very few last points I want to make. Red state / Trump supporters are starting to sing a different tune. USA Today has an article, billionaires coming out against Trump's tariff frenzy. There is a Charles Koch funded group. You'll know Charles Koch. Him and his brother are behind Citizens United, which I think is going to be my big topic next week.
Okay.
TBD. So the Charles Koch funded group sues Trump over tariffs, alleging power grab. They're suing Trump for imposing tariffs on all imports from China. The quote is unlawful power grab. Another quote, a tariff is a tax on Americans' commerce with other countries. The New Civil Liberties Alliance, their mission is combating, quote, unlawful administrative power. This is a far-right group, and I agree with these points they're making, so it goes to show we can have some agreement on both sides. The Home Depot founder calls tariffs bullshit, which I love because NPR was like, used an expletive we can't say on the air, and I was like, well, I'm finding out what this is. He also questions the math around the tariffs. I don't understand the goddamn formula.
And as you've already pointed out,
it is an error.
He didn't even actually use the formula.
Error.
There is a formula. He didn't use it.
Yeah. The Home Depot founder, he argued that a, quote, more manageable and certainly more constructive approach would have been to impose a universal 10% tariff on all imported goods, followed by bilateral talks with individual companies. While I was working on this yesterday, This is literally, I had all of my tabs open, my Word document open, making my notes, getting my sources in order, and I get this push notification on my phone. Wall Street Journal headline: stocks stage a historic rally after days of market turmoil, with the Dow adding a record 2,900 points in a day. And that came from the rollback on tariffs that Trump announced yesterday afternoon, which is why I was like, I'm not going through this and doing a timeline of what's happened, because whiplash is the best word I have for it.
Yeah, and this is the thing I think people should be cognizant of. That's scary, is that this president just wants attention. He wants to be a hero. He wants to, be able to tout victories. And so, yeah, yesterday was, it was a great thing. There was a rally on the stock market, but it's not going to last. It was, because of all the uncertainty. But I wanted to read this out before we go. How many minutes? We got 1 minute. So just talking about Trump's approval rating, I have plenty of time to kick shit on Markwayne Mullin because he just says stupid shit every single week. But presidents with negative net approval at this point in a term since 1937, the only two presidents since 1937 with this negative net overall approval rating are Trump in 2017 and Trump in 2025.
Boom! Drop the mic.
All right, Sloan, read us out. Next week, we'll shit on Markwayne Mullin.
Okay, y'all, have a great week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sloan Roden with Jason Will. We are Raised Red Living Blue.
JasonWill.com, over. JasonWill.com.
You can connect with us on Instagram and TikTok and find podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, full episodes on YouTube. Y'all, keep up the fight, stay strong, and we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Politics of fear and hate are wrong. We love you and we support you.
But America,
and love are right.
we